He's won 4 straight games against Tua. Tua's putting last year in the rearview window. Remember they had that bad rearview mirror? Or the
rearview mirror, but you're fine. Keep rolling.
Both the rearview.
We understood.
Rear window or rearview mirror, but just
Alfred
keep
Hitchcock
rolling.
movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, it's behind him.
There you go.
Take a listen.
That's going to be what's written out there until we do something about that. That's going to be the narrative, that we can't beat the Bills, and until we do beat them and we beat them consistently, like, none of that's going to change. And we have an opportunity to do that this year. We have an opportunity to do that this Thursday.
Okay. They also said something similar
last year. It was Mike McDaniel who said it. Yeah.
He's like, that's a narrative. Like, it's not narrative. It's just the facts. Okay. Who needs this game more, Buffalo or Miami?
All right. So it's obviously, incontrovertibly, and undeniably Miami.
True.
And the AFC East is fun for this show because the three of us have 3 different viable division winners. Jets, Dolphins,
I might
Bills.
want to amend.
Well, wait. No. It's too late, and allow. And so
hometown team.
Hold on. So what did he say?
Hometown team.
Hometown team. Oh,
So
you know what? You can have the Patriots too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
you
fine.
can't
You
pick
just
the
can't go
Bills.
to
I'm
exactly
not picking
right.
the Bills.
No, that's
You
fine.
cannot pick the Jets.
Trust
no,
I know you
I will
want
not
to.
pick the Jets.
Okay,
and have my feet over the fire.
So, I would argue this is Miami's biggest game of the season.
Wow.
It's
Week 2?
Well, because of who it is and where it is. You are playing the 4-time defending division champs who you can't beat, and it's in your building. I just think in general, teams' biggest game, teams that aren't yet Super Bowl minted, that are still trying to prove they can win a division, their biggest game is against their biggest division rival at home. It's the game that is most critical to their success. And what Tua's saying, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but the facts bear it out. Tua in his career against playoff teams is not good. Against everyone else, he's excellent. That left-hand graphic is kind of a Josh Allen Bills graphic, though, because though that's 6-15 against playoff teams, if we just fast forward it to how he's done against the Bills, who have been a playoff team every year that he's played them, that's 1-6. So he's 5-9 against playoff teams, not the Buffalo Bills, which isn't great, but 1-6 with just terrible numbers. So, and Miami Wilds has so many advantages in this game. They're at home. It's a short week, which makes them being at home even more of an advantage. They are yet to go on the road this season. They have the emotional kick of stealing a win. And I think, sadly, the Tyreek thing was kind of a rallying moment for the team, which is why, Wilds, and this is a tough spot, but I have bad news for you. Gentlemen, because this is an upset alert and must win.
What?
It's an upset alert and a must win.
This past me.
Wilds.
Yesterday you did Bruce grades. Now you're doing my stuff.
I'm telling you, must win's yours? So I
must win is mine. And upset alert.
I ask you, Kevin Wilds, because I'm putting the Dolphins on upset alert, and I am asking you, Kevin Wilds,
All right,
Miami
this camera
Dolphins.
angle is killing me here.
Must win?
No, it's week 2.
There we go.
You won't even play along.
Yeah, you got to play along.
It's close to a must-win. It's very close. You weren't, oddly, even though Tua had a bunch of yards, it wasn't a wildly impressive win over the woeful Jaguars.
Oh, now you're with us. Now all of a sudden he's okay with a little eye testing.
No, but I expected them to roll the Jags or come out, all systems go, and they eked out a win that may have gone the other way with a fumble. It's close to a must-win. It's must-win adjacent. It's on the must-win bubble. Okay. But I'm not putting it in a must-win yet. But I do need Tua to have a solid win.
For you to
One win
believe
over
they
the
can
Prince,
win the conference, he has to play well against Buffalo.
It's close. I wasn't proud.
Okay, so let's talk about this. They're kind of just going back and forth saying the same thing. Is it a must-win? Is it not a must-win? It is a must-win, but let's actually talk about it. Okay, is it a must-win game for the Dolphins? I'm going to go ahead and say no, but it is a must Tua play great game. Tua just signed a big contract, just got paid, got the money, let's go. Dolphins, right? You're selling on the idea that this is going to be the year. last year they actually were a better team than as advertised as their season ended. If they didn't have such bad injuries on defense, they could have maybe beaten the Chiefs. Let's go. And I don't think that that's an inaccurate statement. I think it's in the realm of possibility. I'm not saying that they would have beaten the Chiefs, but I even defended them saying, well, their defense was decimated and all of that. But that is kind of the narrative that was put forth of like, hey, we're actually a lot better of a team. Tua is a really good quarterback. Stop acting like Tua's not good. And guess what? We believe in it too. That's why we paid him. And so that's what it is. And so do the Dolphins have to win this game? I don't think it's a have to. Yes, there's obviously a divisional game. And of course, like kind of like what Nick said was where these are like those biggest games when you're not minted, like it's, you got to win the divisional games. And I think it's very similar with, say, like the Cowboys and the Eagles, or I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head right now. But so it makes sense, right? Like that these are big games. But if Tua can play big, even if the Bills end up winning this game, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, that clearly shows they can't beat them. Like, I don't believe in that. People love to just use these single games and as an indicator, and I just disagree with that. And I forget what I said about the Ravens versus the Chiefs. I don't think I said that the Ravens have to win that game. I'm not sure if I said, but I think I maybe said that Lamar has to play good. I hope that's what I said. If I didn't, then I'll be disappointed in myself, honestly, because that is what it just needs to be. It's just that I think I said it needs to be like close and competitive, and you need to feel that the Ravens are actually in that game, I think is what I said. Or if I didn't, like I said, I'll be disappointed in myself, because that's how I feel about this game as well. I don't think any of these games are technically must win, and we could play the game of like, is it a must win? I just try not to like get backed into a corner that way, because nothing is a must necessarily. It would really have to be dire for it to be a must win, but I do think it is a must. Which is what I do feel about Lamar. It's like, you gotta play great. You gotta prove that you can hold your own, that you can be dominant when needed, that you can rise to the occasion. Tua needs to. This is why you get paid hundreds of millions of dollars, is for Tua to step up in this moment. He's at home going up against the Bills, right? They started off 1-0. They did eke out that win. Prove it wasn't a fluke. Prove that you don't have things going badly, and you got to play great. You got to play great, or you end up similar to what the Eagles did in 23, right? Where they eke out a win against the Patriots, and they kept eking out some wins, and it was like, I don't know, Jalen Hurts doesn't look as good, this defense doesn't look as good, the offensive play calling is suspect. So that's why I don't just live and die by the win and the win and loss column. It's just really like, how did you play, right? Like, are you doing what you need to do? When you watch the game, does it feel like you're actually in control? Does it feel like that you're actually worthy to win that game? A perfect example of that is, to kind of stick with the Eagles and the Cowboys, was when the Eagles beat the Cowboys. Dak Prescott stepped out of bounds. I think it was either on the 2-point conversion or just for the touchdown, and it was by a fraction. And it's like, okay, the Eagles could have lost that game. Same thing with a big stop at the goal line defensively for the Eagles that easily could have just broken the plane. When the margin of error is that tiny and they didn't really play that good, it's not like this was like a very intense, competitive, high-powered game. When the margin is that tiny, it's like, well, I don't know how you feel about that. And so even though the Eagles won that game, you can't say that was a big win. They showed that they can beat the Cowboys, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not good enough for me personally. And so it's not good enough for me for that, the Dolphins. It's not just the Dolphins need to win. They need to look good. They need to look confident. They need to look in control. Tua needs to look not overwhelmed if the game calls for it, where Tua needs to step up and have a big drive because either momentum is slipping from them or they're trying to build momentum off of a last scoring drive. Then that's what Tua needs to do. If they're down by 3 points going into 10 minutes left in the fourth, and Tua has the ball at his own 45, he's got to march down there and score, right? He's got to have a commanding drive. It can't be a 3 and out. It can't be, well, my God, you had Tyreek open and you missed him. You can't have those moments. You just can't. And so, like, I've been very I've been very forgiving of Tua and very positive of Tua. I'm a huge Tua fan. I'm happy that he got paid. I think he's fundamentally a great person individually, and he's the type of person who I want to see succeed. He's the type of person who I want to be elevated in the NFL, especially when there's just plenty of people who I don't think are fundamentally good people who get plenty of fortune and fame. So I'm rooting for Tua, but at the same time, once you get paid, once you get this responsibility, like the criticism is valid. Like you got to step up. And so that's ultimately what I'm looking to see here. You know, does Tua take that step and just make you feel I am confident in this? And to me, that's what I'm looking for more than anything. And Tua knows it. He knows. That's why he says the narrative is we can't beat the Bills. Like he knows it. And he knows like we got to prove that we can. We got to prove it. Tua is not he's not the type of person who just thinks that he's owed all this type of stuff, that he's just owed. He doesn't make excuses. Like that's why I really like Tua. I think he's very honest with the media. I think he's very honest with how he approaches things. I think he's kind of largely an open book, and he says how he feels, which is one of the biggest things why I like him so much. He puts himself out there, as we saw how he did with the whole thing with Brian Flores and podcasts and all of that type of stuff. So I think he's speaking very truthfully. And so it's going to be really interesting. It's a standalone game Thursday. Obviously, a lot of build up. I don't think the Dolphins necessarily feel great how they played on Sunday. The Bills was a super physical, tough game, especially on Josh Allen. His arm or his wrist or hand, whatever part of the body it is not like 100%. He even said like it's just as comfortable as we can get it right now. So, you know, this is a game that the Dolphins, if they really took this next step, and if they're going to prove to be a legitimate contender in the NFL, which is the goal, right? The expectations aren't just we want you to be competitive. We just want to make it to the playoffs and win a game at best. Like, no, it's like you're at the point now where it's like, no, you got a great coach. You got a great quarterback. You got great weapons. It's Super Bowl. We got to start fighting for AFC championships. You got to start fighting for Super Bowls. This is the game that you win. This is the game that you step up. And if you don't win it, it better not be because you just didn't show up. It better not be because you were just outplayed, because you clearly were not good enough. If you lose, it's got to just be one of those things where it's like, hey, man, that was a hard game, a great game. They lost. It's football. That happens. That's the only way a loss is acceptable to me, where it was just the Bills were balling out, Josh Allen's balling out, Tua's balling out, Tyreek's balling out. It's just a hard-fought, physical game. Let's go. Or one of those bizarre games where both teams are just like can't move the chains, like, which I can't imagine that happening, you know, at home at Dolphins. That would shock me unless there's crazy injuries. But yeah, I'm excited for this game on Thursday, and I'm excited to definitely break it down and see what the conversations are having, because I don't know if there was a lot of conversations about the Dolphins playing the Jags, because one, the Jags are just not a super popular team, and so they don't get a lot of media attention as much as Trevor Lawrence has kind of helped that. They just don't. And so a close win against them with the Miami Dolphins, just not a lot of shows talked about it. There was not a lot of conversation about it, quite frankly. This game obviously being Josh Allen, the Bills, Miami Dolphins, Tua, let's go. This and it being a standalone game, there's going to be a lot of conversation about it on Thursday and Friday for that matter. So I'm definitely excited to do like a little bit more deeper dives into this. So yeah, I'm anticipating a competitive game, and I'm really excited for it. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think this is a must-win game for the Dolphins, or do you kind of agree with what I'm saying, where it's more of like a great game from Tua? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.